My name is Aredvi Azad, and I am the Director of Education and Programs at the HEAL Project. The HEAL Project is an educational initiative where we work to prevent and end childhood sexual abuse through healing the wounds of sexual oppression and embracing sexual liberation.
Thank you. I am Ignacio Rivera, and I am the founder and executive director of the HEAL Project. And you are joining us today for Manifest. We are going to start with talking about manifestation and what that means and what sexual healing means to us in this context. So when we think about manifestation, we're always manifesting because we're always thinking about things, right? And our thoughts, when we think about manifestations, we think about our thoughts informing our energy, and our energy manifests in our experiences. So this is not simply to say that if I think something, it will happen, but it's the process in between from thinking to the getting that we're going to be talking about, that what manifestation is really about. It's not a quick fix or a magic button for people, but it is intentional, beautiful and spiritual work. If this is something that you like to do. We realize that there are many ways of finding healing, especially around sexual violence. And this is just one way that has worked for myself and for Aredvi as well. So we want to share that. When we talk about sexual healing, we are being very specific that there is no cookie cutter model about sexual healing. This is your idea of what you need, right? What do you need for sexual healing? What is sexual healing for you? Is it to be naked by yourself? Is it to have a sexual partner? Is it to view yourself naked for the first time? Is it to love your body? There are many ways that sexual healing can present itself to us. And so it is for us to think and decide, what is sexual healing for me? And how can I start shifting my thoughts around that? And so an acronym that I tend to use is TEAR. So it's thoughts plus our energy equal, it affects our perception of reality. So if we think something, our energy sometimes shift, right? If we think negatively, sometimes we get upset because we have that negative thought in our body. And that affects our perception of reality. So that is something that we all do. We all do. So we want to be more conscious of our thought processes and what those thought processes do within our body, and then how we react to those thought processes. Yeah, and that really talks a lot about our brain, right, Aredvi? And Aredvi loves talking about the brain.
I do. I really enjoy the intersection of scientific ideas with the spiritual and with the healing aspects of elements of nature. So yeah, and an example I like to use is, sometimes you learn a new word you've never heard before, and then suddenly you see it everywhere. Suddenly it's like everybody's always using it, and you're like, well, how did I not, see this before? But that actually, it's a common scientific phenomena. It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomena, or the frequency illusion. When we try to think about something, what basically happens, and this has been proven, is that we are more likely to identify and see that idea and pattern in the world around us. So the way I like to think about manifesting, it's less about, I'm going to think about this thing and it will happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's my fault. That's not really the case, right? The world is an imperfect place, it's unpredictable, and things happen in ways that we really don't have a lot of control over. But by manifesting and putting an energy and intention that really works for us, what we literally do is that we change our brain in a way that it's more likely to see it, our perception of reality changes, and that can make our lives, our experience of living so different. So yeah, and this is again goes back to what the fabric of the universe is made of. I happen to have a background in physics, and again, another piece I really love talking about these ideas is that the universe is literally made of energy. Everything, matter by itself, when you break it down, it comes from energy. So we are energy. We are the same way that everything around us is. So when we put out something that's high energy, and that is ideas that are positive, that are inviting, that are loving, that are accepting and compassionate, what we do is that we attract similar energy towards ourselves, right? We are more likely to be seeing that kind of energy in the world outside. And at the same time, when we have low energy, when we are feeling down, when we are feeling upset, which happens, again, not this is part of life, right? What happens is that then we unfortunately also more likely to see that in the world around us, and our perception of the reality and the universe shifts in that way. So yeah, this is the piece I really enjoy talking about when it comes to this topic.
I think a lot about vibration when I think about when we are bartering with a higher power. We've all done it. You know, like there's a point where something horrible is happening, you're just experiencing so much bad stuff. And, you know, some of us get on our hands and knees, some of us, you know, sit there and think, and it's like God, Jehovah, Allah, whoever we are, you know, praying to, it's like, please make this right. Please, I will do anything if you do A, B, C, and D. Right. And when I think about high vibration, it's like when we think about prayer and what we want, that is a very low vibrational place to start from, right? Because you're in a negative place. You're coming from that negativity, rather than when we do manifestation, we often we talk as if the thing has already happened, right? So we are trying to shift, right? We're not saying, please help me do this thing. It's like, I will. I have done it. I have done this thing that will help me, and then we take the steps towards that thing. So when we pray, when we talk to God, when we, you know, have a conversation with a higher power, it is always through a higher vibration, not a low vibration. And we often get that mixed up because we don't have the intention there. And so it's like, oh, that's right. Let me tap into this thing that I haven't tapped into before. Let me just beg right now. So it's shifting that intentionality, that just thinking deeper about it. Right? And so we want to give 4 principles of manifestation that could be helpful. So we talked about this already. Number 1 is raising your vibration, right? We talk about having a high vibration, but how do you actually raise it? And Aredvi spoke to that already. And it is like clearing negativity, right? So first is identifying what that negativity is. And sometimes that's really hard to like figure out what person might be toxic in your life, or a job, or, you know, anything that might be negative, or maybe you're being negative to yourself. So what is the negative thing? And it's about working to try to clear that. And also to clear the disbelief in the power that you have, or that we have, to heal ourselves. In order to manifest, you have to actually believe that this is possible. If you don't believe it, then that's fine. And it's probably not the vehicle to use, right? So hiring your vibration is simply really trying to be kind to yourself, really showing gratitude. It is about drinking water, eating right, doing the things that feel good, and that is just hiring your vibration, right? And then 2 is to be concise. This is really important, because when we're manifesting, we really want to think. It's almost like how people say, if you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for? And then people say, I wish I had $1 million, but we're not talking about where those $1 million came from, right? So it could have been like somebody stole $1 million from somebody else and gave it to you, or somebody robbed a bank and gave it to you. We want to talk about the details in between. So I want $1 million, which is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about sexual healing. So I would like to be a positive sexual being. I want to have good sexual relationships. I want to be more comfortable with my body. And even more specific than that, I want to be able to love my body. I want to be able to not have sex with the lights off. I want to be able to talk to somebody about my desires and my fears. I want to talk about my trauma. I want to talk about negotiating, right? So be very concise about the things that maybe you don't have, that you really, really want. And once you start naming those things and getting very specific, you are really opening up the door to all the things that you are actually pushing yourself to do by the thought itself. The thought is informing the action, and then the action is informing the overall high vibration of feeling, right? And so number 3.
Yeah, thank you, Ignacio. I really, before I jump to number 3, I really love the idea of the prayer to our higher being, whatever it may be, of not thinking of that as a withholding entity, that we need to beg and ask for something, rather that whatever is out there is always unconditionally available to us, right? We don't need to be good for it to get it. We don't need to be begging for it. We don't need to be, whatever it is. I really like that idea of like, no, our higher being is, even if it's connected to ourselves, right, it is always present no matter what. So thank you for that. Yeah, so number 3, I think that goes back to the idea of how do we raise the vibration and clear the negativity, is the acronym T, which stands for think, experience, and accept. So the thinking process is, you are thinking about manifest something, being very specific, being concise, and thinking about, okay, this is what I want to bring into my life. This is how I want to build this relationship with myself or others. This is how I want to show up. And it's through that process of thinking, when I get our thinking brain going, that if we slow down and pay attention, we notice there are feelings coming up. We can access the feeling brain, the feelings that wherever they meet, it might be anger, there might be disappointment, there might be fear, there might be excitement. Whatever it is will show up, and we get to experience that. And that process of experiencing, I think that's the meat of this, or the tofu of it. It's like you go into, really, if you're journaling, however you experience your feelings and surface your feelings, you can experience that. And even if it's negative feelings are, part of who we are. So we want to experience that. We want to let it surface. We want to have it come out, be right in front of us. And once it's there, then we can have the clarity to then plan out, okay, I want to build this type of relationship with my body, with my sexual self. And here is, I think, what makes sense for me to do. I can seek out therapy who can provide certain service for me. I can read some books or watch some videos or spend some time taking care of myself, and again, noticing what comes up. And the last step, accept, what I love about that is I really like using the word self-acceptance, because it's so much about just observe. Let's just observe what happens. It doesn't always have to end in a positive, high place. Whatever happens, it's us. It's, nobody is perfect and nothing is perfect. Our feelings will just come up, and accepting what happens in that process is a very powerful tool. Sometimes I think when we try so hard and don't get what we want, it can be frustrating, and we can get stuck in being hard on ourselves. But instead, we make mistakes, let's accept it. We can't get rid of all the negativity that we want to. It's okay, we can accept that too. That's just part of being human. And something, Ignacio, you said that I really like on this one is, let the thought inform the feelings, and let the feelings take out the energy. And it's really true. You start with thinking, you let the feelings rise and experience them. And it's the feelings that can then help you bring out the energy that you want to put out into the universe. So then the last principle, the 4th principle, is be open to receiving. So that means being patient. This is not, time is not linear, and we put out the energy we want to put out because it improves our own experience of reality. It improves the way that we carry ourselves, but it does not mean that we are going to get what we want in the way we want, when we want it. A saying I like to say is that this spirit, however you define it, will give us what we need when we need it, when spirit thinks we need it. And these ideas may not always be in the way that we're like, okay, boom, 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 here's how I'm going to get from A to B. It's a little bit more, non-linear than that. And also, again, it's a journey. Spirit, your higher being, your higher vibration, the energy, whatever it is you connect with, it's not withholding. And however you land, let's just accept that as part of the process.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I definitely want to bring up the concept or the idea of ritual here, because in manifestation work, a lot of manifestation work is rituals. Sometimes we might do a manifestation ritual that is in the moment, one time, right? And then other times, or a manifestation ceremony, that is one time. And then we might do a ritual that might be, I am going to work with this manifestation for a month or a year or 6 months. We can do it however we want. For the next weekend, I'm going to be saying this thing. I'm going to be really thinking about this, right? So when we think about ritual, we want to make a clear distinction between a ritual and a habit or a routine. Right? Have you ever, got in your car, drove somewhere, and then was like, oh, wait a minute, how did I get here? Right? Because you're so used to that route that you're not even like looking, right? It's like you just ended up there, right? That is a habit or a routine, right? We don't have to think about the thing. And so with a ritual, that is the difference. We are thinking about it. So a ritual is not a habit or a routine, because a habit or routine is just a repeated action, right? And sometimes it's just something that we have in our brains. But a ritual is symbolism, intent, ceremony, awareness, meaning that is connected to a routine, right? So it has to have the meaning. You're constantly interacting with it. You're thinking about it. So it isn't get in the car and show up. It's like really thinking about every turn you make, what the scenery is, like all of the things in between, which is hard because we do a lot of things. As humans, we're doing so many things, and we end up in a lot of habits. So this is the good work of manifestation. It makes us come to ourselves and really think. Just like when we thought about the 4 principles, being concise is really thinking about things and really honoring that ritual for yourself, however that may be. So now we want to get into the 4 elements of nature and some of the ways that we've used it in our manifestation work. And there are a lot of ways. These are just a few ways, and we really want people to be creative and open their minds, because this is your practice. Manifestation is what you make of it. It's yours. You have total and complete power. And I really want to say that you actually have the power, because you're doing the thinking, you're doing the shifting, and you are making space for whatever it is. I don't care if it takes a month, a year, or 2, you're still putting in that work. All right, so the first element that I want to talk about is air. And so air, its association is with mental health. Right? And so whenever we want to probably do some work around manifestation for our well-being, our mental well-being, this is a good element to work with. And it symbolizes clarity, clearing, and growth, to name a few. And some of the ways that we can do manifestation with that is when we think of air, we think of breath. So we can be doing simple breathing exercises, just connecting with our bodies. That's it. Sometimes people actually forget how powerful breathing is. I mean, literally, we do it every single day. And this is the thing that is like almost like this routine, right? Like we're breathing without knowing it. And sometimes when we're stressed, people are like, breathe, because we're like, right? And so breathing in and of itself is such a beautiful thing, like connecting with your own breath and how it comes in and out of your body. And that could be very grounding. Singing, yelling is another form of using breath. Singing in my native spirituality is called the breath of life. When we sing, it is life. We are bringing life into ourselves. So breath can be, air can be played with in a lot of ways. It can be being out in nature, but we're going to talk about earth in a little bit as well. So some of these things kind of like go together. And so with air, a lot of the ways that I use air is usually through breath and meditation, and really trying to ground and connect in that way.
Yeah, the next element we want to talk about is fire. So fire is associated with desire, with passion, with creativity, and it symbolizes transformation and purification, motivation. So some examples of fire around us are any kind of heat that you may have, any source of heat that you may have around you. If I really like the sun, just knowing if I can see the sun. I live in New England, I don't get a lot of sunny days, but when it's there, just knowing its warmth, its light is present in my life. And cooking, again, interacting with heat is one way. And going into like sexual healing, what I really actually personally enjoy is like heating blankets, some soothing, awesome source of heat that can really feel like a hug, like I'm giving myself a hug, right? Or when doing rituals, putting a lot of candles around me to look at, interact with. Sometimes you can build it, if you have outside access to safely make a fire, you know, putting whatever negativity you may have or whatever memories you don't want to be reminded of, is writing it down on something and just giving it to the fire for it to take care of it, to take care of whatever it is, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that we can bring the element of fire into our lives. I also sometimes really enjoy, if I get lucky with some great sunlight and it's coming through the window, it's like take a nap under the sun. Let the rays just go through your body, and it can be, honestly, lay down and masturbate under the sun. Let this be an experience that is like very much engaging with this higher power that's outside.
Yes, thank you. I think also I love using fire myself when I have done some self-loving rituals, especially when I am not able to be sexual with other people because I'm in my like PTSD, mode. And so I love to light candles all around me and really center myself and just either be naked with myself, be with myself, masturbate or anything, and using just the fire for like this, a purification and transformation of myself, and really thinking about that. So I integrate like a lot of, just meditating with that. So that works really well. And then earth, I love earth a lot. And earth is associated with the physical body. And its symbol is like grounding, absorption, also transmuting. And basically like using the earth is like walking in nature, using crystals, hiking, hugging a tree, laying on grass, going camping. Like I think, and there's ecotherapy. There's so many ways that people don't realize that the earth itself is such a healing property for us. And just sitting in grass, laying in grass. When I feel absolutely just out of control sometimes, I literally have to go outside and hug a tree or be barefoot on grass. And just, and the transmuting, sometimes I imagine all the negative energy just coming out of my body, going through my feet into the earth, and asking Mother Earth to transmute that into positivity back into my body, through my feet, all through my body. Like just visualizing that really, just sparks something wide open for me. So I love grounding. Grounding really works for me.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really agree with that. I found being closer to nature absolutely crucial for my own healing. And it's like at some point I had the awareness that I couldn't be in cities anymore, and I had to be close to nature. And over the years, I've really seen the difference it makes to be able to have that direct connection with nature, with Mother Earth, to be able to walk on a piece of earth without your shoes on. That's so powerful. So the last element is water, and that's my favorite because I'm a water sign. I have so much water. And it's connected with our emotions. Water is the sign of emotions. It symbolizes cleansing, it symbolizes clarity, flow, release. So water is, it's the sign of life. It's what gives us life. And if you think about it, they say something like 3/4 of our bodies are water. So really interacting with that element, however it is, if, through bathing, talking to water, I'll explain this a little bit more. It's like, sometimes really hard to give ourselves what we need. But what's been actually shown is that water, the molecules of water really respond to the kind of energy we give to it. So there are studies that show, like, if you talk to a glass of water in a positive way, give it a lot of good energy, that changes the vibration of the water. So imagine doing that, giving it a lot of love, giving it a lot of compassion, and then drinking that, bringing that energy back into your body, right? And then, yeah, doing a lot of offerings to water. You can, if there is a body of water near you, you can interact with it. There's a river next to me, which I love going to it and just talking to it. This river that just washes away. Sometimes even visualizing a liquid that is like a water that's like warm, nice temperature. Sometimes I visualize something like honey, like very smooth honey, just washing over me and clearing my anxieties, clearing everything that is like blocking my energy. So water is a powerful element.
Yes, I love water. I use water all the time, and there are like all these other ways too. Like when it rains, that's a beautiful time to just like connect with water because it's coming straight from earth, straight from the source. And it's like, what a beautiful thing to like let water that's coming, you know, from the earth just like fall all over you. There's also spiritual baths. Lots of people do spiritual baths where it's just water itself, but some people add certain elements to it, like oils and flowers and things like that, and really put intention to this bath, this water that's going to go over your body for clarity and cleansing. I love the drinking of the water, and I also use crystals. Sometimes using crystals also from the earth. If you want to open up your heart chakra, use rose quartz. You throw some rose quartz in your water, let it stay there for a couple of hours. You have literally created a rose quartz elixir, and you drink that, and you are drinking those beautiful high vibrational properties of rose quartz. So there's a lot of things, and be sure that some crystals you can't put in water because they will dissolve. So make sure you know your crystals. And so these four elements are just a little tip of the iceberg of how we can use what's all around us. We don't have to buy anything. We use all around us to help us in our healing. Mother Nature is there to support us, and we have the power to do this manifestation. I want to share like one ritual that I have done for myself and my own sexual healing, which uses water and earth, which is a lot of times before I am going to be sexually interactive with someone, especially a new person, or if I'm nervous, or if I am triggered in some way. I like to use water as a cleansing, right? As at first using earth to ground myself and say, this is okay. This is something that I'm dealing with, and I want to center myself and make sure that what I'm doing is exactly what I want and not for the other person. And I want to clear all that negative energy from me when I go and enter into this space, because I want to create a new vibration with this person, right? And so it is all the intent behind it, so that that doesn't necessarily mean that my maybe lower vibration things might not peak up, but I am interacting with it in a way, and I am possibly having a way to help myself if those things come up, right? Is there something I need to do? Do I need to sit down? And so this is how you can engage and have the power for yourself without apology, because we are healing, and we shouldn't be sorry for a healing, you know. This is what we need for ourselves.
Yeah, so some ways that I've incorporated manifesting and energy work into my life is when I buy a new sex toy, or sometimes I make a new sex toy. I really like to manifest a positive energy and good energy into it, an energy of how this is going to help my body heal and give me joy and pleasure, or just connection with myself. So, and I'm aware that how the more I give this intentional energy to the toy, the more I will be receiving it. The partners that are using it with me, how that impacts the energy that I'm bringing into it, and even using natural elements to give that kind of energy to to the toys that I have, using crystals, rocks, using earth, using water, all of that to give the energies that I want, bringing it really intentionally into my own sex life and sexual healing.
Yes, and I'll say one last thing about crystals. I definitely use crystals in sex, like having crystals on people's bodies and working specifically with the sacral chakra. to just really build that, beautiful high energy right in that area. And, that really puts me in a good headspace. It puts me in a good headspace. So there's tons of ways that we can be creative, open up our minds, step out of the box on how we have the power to heal ourselves with our own minds and everyday things that are around us. And so thank you so much for joining us for Manifest. And please don't forget to follow us on social media. We are Heal to End, HEAL, the number 2, END, Heal to End on all social media platforms. Sign up for our newsletter. We are healtoend.org. Send in questions. We answer questions all the time from folks around sexuality, gender, sexual trauma. And of course, we cannot survive without donations. So please, please, if you can, any donation is accepted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.